Here's Tower Collages Part 3. This right here shows 4 widest TV towers that are freeway. This one's somewhere in Alabama on a hill. I don't know its beacon setup, unfortunately. You see there's another cell tower next to it. This one right here is somewhere in Wisconsin. I think it's in the Milwaukee area. And I think I heard it's the tallest three-legged widest tower in the entire world. I think it has box strobes and LEDs. This one right here is in Knoxville, Tennessee. I think it has an incandescent on the antenna. I don't see any other beacons. So, and there's a double radar in there. And this one right here is in Jacksonville, Florida. It has a modern incandescent on the antenna. Now, candelabras. This is the one in Huntsville. The one in Birmingham. It has the box strobe, your average FDB 205s and FH307 setup with a flash technology dual strobe on one of the antennas. This is one of the candelabras in Atlanta. It also has your average FH307 and FDB 205 setup with an FH324 on one of the antennas. I don't know if it has LEDs now. This one's somewhere in California. It's a red and white candelabra, and the top is very big. And the candelabra top is very big. This one, I think it has modern incandescents. I don't know if it still has them. This one is somewhere in the Milwaukee area. And this one's somewhere in Wisconsin. I don't know if it has LED. Yeah, those might be LEDs. Did I say Drake lighting LEDs or die-white LEDs? Those are the main LEDs used on TV towers. Well, for cell towers, the smaller towers, that would be FTS 370s, old school LEDs, and modern LEDs, and sometimes HP Horizons. Towers in my area with FH306s. This one here is my favorite tower. It's a monopole. Yeah, I mentioned this one in the first video of the series. Monopoles in my area that has beacons. There's 2 things up there. Those are actually boxes for the antennas that resemble dual strobes. So I thought this tower had a double duo at first, but it actually has a 306. I noticed it a week or 2 ago. This one right here is in East Huntsville. It used to have a set of cell antennas at the very top, but those have been removed between 2013 and 2020. And then this new set of cell antennas were put on this tower. There's also some radio antennas there. So it's a cell phone radio tower. This right here, it's next to the interstate in Huntsville. It isn't even a tower. It isn't called a tower. But this right here is a rocket displayed at the Davidson Center for Space Exploration. You see one of the set of 306s. And there's another one, and there's the top one. Towers that I know of with white-only LEDs. Yeah, these are the ones I know of that actually have white-only LEDs. The others that I know of, I don't know if they actually have modern LEDs, but I believe so. This one right here, this tower right here, it's a Guy Tower it's near Low Mill in Huntsville. I think what this tower originally looked like, it was red and white and had an old school incandescent, but now it's gray. And back in the early 2010s street view, it used to have a FH308, but this now has a white-only FTS 370. These other 2 towers also have white-only FTS 370s, no white-only HP Horizons. I have a fear that this tower will be demolished, and since there's not any antennas on it at all. Nothing. This tower right here, it's near Birmingham, downtown Birmingham. And this was constructed in like 2013. It replaced another cell tower that was taken down either between 2008 and 2011. The old tower, I want to say it here had a flash technology dual strobe or a F8308. Something like that. This one, yeah, it looked cool. Too bad the other tower's now dead. And this right here is the second Lowe's Tower in the first Lowe's Tower in Rolla, Missouri. It was constructed back in 1990. I want to say its original beacon was an FH301, or probably an SS129, or a KG225. So, and then this tower got an FH308, and then it now has this FTS 370 white only. And its 308 was replaced by the LED in 2014. And the tower also had a top set of cell antennas, but those were removed at the same time this tower got a LED. Towers with the Walmart LED. It's called the Walmart LEDs because this mysterious LED beacon was first found on this Walmart tower here. I'm sure y'all already know that by now. Besides Big LT. So, the night lit on this beacon's even longer than the dual strobe. Flash technology dual strobe. This tower right here is near the Nashville candelabras. I filmed this tower from the distance at night from the Acme rooftop. And I think this is the tower right here, but I saw a tower that had two set of beacons and they were flashing like Walmart LEDs. And it had one set of markers. It might have been this tower here. It was a small tower, so it gotta be this one right here. Been searching for the tower after the Nashville trip. You already know this one. The Walmart Tower. It was constructed in 2002. It used to have an F8309, but in 2016 it got the Walmart LED, and the tower got a cell antenna modification in late 2021. And the street was after the modification. And this right here is a red and white water tower in the Kansas City area. So this one, BLT said it does have a Walmart LED. There's no proof. I'll trust him. He never filmed this tower at night. And this is a cool tower. I would say it was constructed in like the 60s or 70s. So this thing's original beacon would be a old school incandescent. Or I don't know if it had markers before, just a pair of markers. I don't know if it did. Accomplishment towers. This is the Britt Mountain Radio Tower on Montesano Mountain in Huntsville. So, if you recognize this tower from part 1 on Towers in My Area TWR Externalities, this tower was constructed in the 80s, and it was it's constructed in the mid-80s. So I'm thinking this tower's original beacon setup was an old school incandescent with 2 sets of markers. Probably 2 sets of old school incandescents with 2 sets of markers or 1 set of markers, I don't know. This tower now has 2 sets of TWR strobe LEDs with 2 sets of markers. This might be an accomplishment tower. You can see a small beacon with antenna next to it. This is the Long Lines Tower in Cuba, Missouri. The Big LT's second favorite Long Lines Tower. This tower, of course, was constructed in the 60s, and that's when most AT&T Long Lines towers are constructed, the steel ones. So, of course, this tower's original beacon would be an old school incandescent. That was like the only beacon that was around at the time. Until like the late 80s, I think, when they started making strobes. So, yeah. And here's, I don't know if this tower ever got an FH308 or some con strobe. And like, I don't know if this tower ever got a single strobe, or like only single strobe in like the 90s or the early 2000s. I don't know if it ever did. Or FH306. I don't know if the tower ever got one of those. And here's in the late 2000s or early 2010s, the tower got a flash technology dual strobe. If you didn't like the late 2010s, the tower was completely modified. Not completely. So the horns were removed, new cell antennas were added right there. And then a new top piece was added. Unfortunately, the dual strobe had to go. And the tower now has a stupid piece of junk. FTS 370. Thankfully, this tower still has study side markers. This is the Western Union conjoined tower in Forney, Texas. Yep. It would be constructed in like the 60s or probably 70s. So, of course, its original beacons would be old school incandescents. But it appears that in the early 2000s or late 90s, it got FH306s. But unfortunately, like late 2019 or probably 2020, this tower got modern LEDs. It's too bad. It has two sets of beacons and two sets of markers on the taller part. Probably one set, and then one set of markers on this secondary part. I'll say it's a secondary part. See a small pie rod tower next to it. Pie rod lattice has a dual strobe flash technology. Not that special. This red and white guide tower in Decatur, Alabama. I filmed this tower before at dusk. Its beacon was on day mode, so. This tower, in this street view, you see that it used to have a FH308 and a modern incandescent, but when I filmed this tower at dusk, I found out that it now has a modern LED piece of junk. It's still on day mode, so I had sort of a late night mode. I think modern LEDs were supposed to go to night mode around that time. Not on night mode right after I filmed. A few minutes after I leave Decatur, probably. Or maybe the old school, maybe the modern incandescent and single strobes. Or no, the white flash looks like it was an LED flash. So, yep, it was a modern LED. And this right here is the Wide Fidelity Tower in Sullivan, Missouri. A former AT&T Long Lines tower. I'm sure it was an AT&T Long Lines tower. Back in the 60s when this tower was constructed, it used to be taller. I'd say in like the late 90s or early 2000s, this tower was chopped off. It's now smaller. Now, of course, this tower's original beacon will be an old school. I think around the time that the top was chopped off, I think the tower, when that was when the tower was painted gray. And the tower got a KG225. But in between 2018 and 2021, the tower got an FTS 370, unfortunately. It was a white-only 370, but it had the same flash rate as an FTS 370 on the red night mode. So, yeah. Water towers with beacons. This right here is the water tower in Monroe, Georgia. Here has a FH324 or a TWR E1DB. Yeah, either Flash Technology dual strobe or a TWR dual strobe. I'm gonna think it's a TWR because how it looks. This right here is the water tank cell tower hybrid in Akron, Ohio. It has a Flash Technology dual strobe, as you can see. That dual strobe used to be stuck on Dama for a really long time. It might have been emergency now, but I don't know. I think it was stuck on day mode, but the dual strobe was stuck on day mode for a really long time until like 2020 when the beacon now on its normal night mode. That's what Wise Aiden said. This right here is one of the Walmart towers in Missouri. Yeah, this one's in Branson, Missouri. You recognize this tower from the first video of the series of the four major Walmart towers in Missouri. This water tower right here has a Flash Technology dual strobe. See, it's a cell tower hybrid. Love the logo that's on there. This is a water spear in Ozark, Missouri. It has an FH308 hidden in the cell antennas. This right here is a water tower in Greensboro, North Carolina. It has not one, not two, but three modern incandescents on top. This is also a cell tower hybrid. It was constructed in the early 2010s. It replaced another water tower that was destroyed in a hurricane. I don't know if the old water tower had a beacon, since I've never seen the old water tower. There's not any street view here after the old water tower was destroyed, unfortunately. Water towers with beacons, too. This is a water tower in Norman, Oklahoma. This has a very rare beacon, and that's the Orga L303 white and red single strobe, or the FH306's clone. Okay. So, yeah, and this tower also has side markers, so it's really cool. I would love to film this tower one day. This right here is the water spear in Wall, South Dakota. It actually has two different beacons on top. One of us being a modern incandescent, the other being, I think it's the same beacon that was on the Bridgestone Arena tower in downtown Nashville. Well, some light only beacon that only shines at night, a beacon that mimics the 308. That's what this tower has. It's smaller than the monopole you see there, barely. And the monopole's beaconless, so that's kind of funny. Or it's maybe just far, but maybe it just looks smaller, but it's actually taller since it's in the distance. Since it's more far than the monopole in this street view image, or the street view. I just screenshotted these. And this is the water spear in Union, New Jersey. See, it's also a cell tower hybrid. It has a Flash Technology dual strobe. I think it's one of the tallest water towers in the world. This is the water spear in Greensburg, Kansas. It has a modern incandescent. I think it did, but that in this street view doesn't look like a normal incandescent modern. The shape looks different. Maybe one of the Solace inter-signal beacons, probably. And this right here, I don't remember where this water tower is, but it's at a college, I think. It's on a college campus, I think. All the cell antennas surrounding that area. This was cool. I think it has an old school. I think this tower has an old school incandescent. Now, dead towers. These two are in my hometown, Huntsville, Alabama. This one was a guide cell tower that was at the Huntsville High School. It's been replaced by a monopole. This AT&T Wall-Lines Tower in downtown Huntsville. It was taken down in 2019. It was beaconless. And this red and white four-legged tower, it was in Decatur, Texas. I think it was taken down in the mid-2010s. It had an FG3000B. The beacon actually gone on a 60 FPM night mode. That's the mysterious 3000B night mode. It's like wing, 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 wing. Yep, that's what it's like. And it's right here. It's the widest FM tower that was next to the Topo, Texas tower. At first, I thought this tower had two sets of flashing dual strobes, but it appears that it actually has bulk strobes and modern incandescents on it. T-top candelabras. This is the one in Akron, Ohio. This is Wise Aiden's second favorite tower. It has LEDs on it, sadly. Its original beacons, I bet, will be old school incandescents. Well, if this tower was constructed in like the late 90s or early 2000s, it would be modern incandescents. This is the widest T-top candelabra in Philadelphia. I don't know its beacon size, it's just that I found this tower. This one right here, I think it's in the Columbus area, Columbus, Ohio. It's the smallest T-top candelabra. And it appears to be a dual strobe. Might actually be a single strobe. This tower, I think it does have markers, so that might be a 306. Beacon up there is sort of a mystery. And this T-top candelabra is in Madison, Wisconsin. I think it was constructed in like 2004. It has box strobes and TWR fading LEDs with a TWR strobe and LED on one of the antennas. This replaced a red and white TV tower that had I think modern incandescents. So yeah, there's this whole TV tower. This tower is cooler though because of the beacons it has, and it has a T-top candelabra. Highway Patrol Towers. This is the one in Springfield, Missouri. I say its original beacon was an old school incandescent, but it now has an FH308, so it got a cursed beacon replacement. This one's in Oklahoma City. It has an old school incandescent. This is the one in Rolla, constructed in 2011. It has an FG3000B. It's a half pie rod, half lattice tower as well. There used to be another tower where this one was, the old Highway Patrol Tower in Rolla. It was a red and white four-legged tower with an old school incandescent with two sets of markers. This is the one in Dothan, Alabama. The top's not showing because it was topped off by Collages. This tower right here, it's a red and white guide tower. It's a small red and white guide tower. It used to have an old school incandescent, I bet, or probably modern, but now has a flash technology dual strobe. And this is the Highway Patrol Tower in Poplar, Bluff, Missouri. It has two sets of dual strobes. I don't know what kind exactly. Lowe's Towers. This is the one in Athens, Alabama. I filmed this tower multiple times, and when I go to Athens, it has a flash technology dual strobe on it. I think an older Street View when it had more cell antennas. I think it actually had a 306. And it was replaced either between 2013 and 2016. You know these. The Lowe's towers in Rolla, Missouri. That's the first one, that's the second one. So this tower is one of those towers that you've seen that has the white on-light LED. So no need to explain about that tower. So going to this one. It was constructed in 1999. So I bet its original beacon was a FH306. It might have been a 3000B. I don't really know. But in the late 2000s or early 2010s, probably late 2000s, it got a flash technology dual strobe. And the dual strobe had a really late night mode, but in late 2021, it was sadly replaced by an FTS 370, white and red. I think we're still study side markers. This right here, this tower is somewhere in Tennessee. It has a flash technology dual strobe. I don't remember what town it's in. More towers with TWR strobe and LEDs. This monopole is in Sparks, Georgia. So this tower used to have less cell antennas back in like 2018 Street View, or probably 2019. There's its markers. Yeah, it's in Sparks, Georgia. I already said that. This round white guide tower has two sets of beacons. It's in Akron, Ohio. I think it had incandescence before, so it's probably an accomplishment tower. This one's this one's in Reedley, California. I think this one had an incandescent as well because of how old it looks and it's round white. So that's also an accomplishment. This tower is in the Oklahoma City Tower Farm, the only full-fledged cell tower in the farm. Like the one that's the size of a normal cell tower. It was constructed in the early 2010s, and in its spot, it used to be a red and white TV tower that was demolished in 2014. Had an old school incandescent. The strobe LED on this tower right here is original. The truss there looks different than the rest of this. For some reason. This tower is somewhere in Ohio. It looks cool. I'm believing that the beacon is a strobe and LED. I believe so. And you see it's a red and white pilot tower, which is cool. More monopoles with beacons. This one's in Smyrna, Georgia. It has an airport rotating beacon with markers on top. So this is a cool tower, and it's at an airport, so of course it has a beacon. This is the very small monopole in Jefferson City, Missouri. It has a beacon. Back in like 2007 Street View, probably 2008. This tower used to look different. It didn't have the platforms. It still had cell antennas, but they were just mounted onto the pole. Like they weren't. Like from the distance, this tower looked like it was antenna-less. And then also it looked like that the tower had a dual strobe. But this tower, it now has an old school LED. I think that's an old school LED. And this tower also even has markers for being really small. I think they're like right there. This one right here is in the DFW area. It originally had an FH306, but in the early 2010s, probably 2013, the 306 was removed because they found that the tower was too small to have a beacon. That sucks. I'm kidding. In like the late 2010s, this tower got an FH308. This monopole right here is in Ravenna, Ohio. it had a Walmart LED, so it was a curse tower. But in this street view, this new street view, it's actually 5 months ago, but it wasn't posted yet. But in this street view, it looks like it now has a dual strobe. What's weird? LED to strobe. That's so weird, but it's cool. This monopool is in Louisville, Kentucky. It's a really special tower since it has one of the rarest beacons in the U.S. Well, this is a very rare beacon. It has the almighty TWR retro. And this is a cursed tower, but that makes the tower even more cooler. It since had another set of cell antennas added since the street view was taken. The street view was like 2 years ago. The first street view of the new cell antennas was at dusk 2 months ago. So you can see this tower, and the markers were on, but I couldn't get the beacon flashing. Hopefully this tower never gets an LED. This monopool is somewhere in Virginia. I think it has a modern LED. It's one of those weird platforms on there. Candelabra is part 2. This one is one of the monopools in Miami Gardens. I don't know what's beacon set up. This is the all red monopool in Baltimore. I think it has modern incandescence on it. Really cool tower. The Nashville candelabras. Which one's the Trinity candelabra? I think it's this one right here. It has your average F8307s and FDB205 set up with a flash technology on dual strobe on 110. When I filmed these towers from the distance on the Nashville arc, the bulk strobes were on their separate night mode and the 307s were dead. And the dual strobe was flashing the same rate as the bulk strobes, but it was red. I don't know what the heck was going on with this tower's beacons. But that might be a sign of it getting LEDs. And that's very unfortunate. And this right here is the second natural candelabra. It just has FDB205s. And it has an FH308 on 1D antennas. So that one only shines white. This one should shine white and red, but it's only shining white right now. This red and white candelabra, it's in Philadelphia. I think it has incandescence. This small candelabra, it's somewhere in California. I don't know if it has beacons. So it looks pretty small. This candelabra, it's another candelabra in the Miami Gardens Tower Farm. I don't know its beacon set up. Towers that have both dual strobes and incandescence. All of these are in Missouri. This one's in Jefferson. This one's in Springfield. So its original beacon was old school incandescent, but I think the tower, but I can't talk. But then after the old school incandescent was replaced, it was actually left there to rot. And on the very top of the tower, they put a flash technology dual strobe in. This tower is markerless, but I think it has markers, but they're shut off or just dead. This one, I don't remember what town it's in, but I think it has this one has I think it has a 3000B and an old school incandescent, and it's gray, so I think it was red and white when I had incandescent. If not, it's a cursed tower. Used to be, at least. This one right here is in St. Joseph. And they originally had 2 sets of old school incandescents, but appears in like the late 90s or early 2000s. The old school incandescents have been shut off, and then FT3000Bs are on the tower. This tower is unfortunately markerless now. And this tower, I forgot what town it was in too. I can see there, it's blurry, but there's flash technology dual strobes and modern incandescence. So, yeah. And actually, hot and cold water tower duos. This one's in Prattville, Mississippi. I think that's the name. Oh, I'm gonna have to check. No, not right now. I don't want you to vandalize these cool towers. We don't know the exact location of them. But these towers are somewhere in Mississippi. These two hot and cold water towers are in St. Clair, Missouri. One of them's a cell tower hybrid. The other one might have cell antennas too, but they might be on the other side. This duo's in Okemah, Oklahoma. I think the top half of these water towers have been taken off, unfortunately. These are very old. This one was probably constructed in the 1910s, and this one was probably 1920s. This one, I had to go to Google Chrome Street View since there's not any Street View of these towers anymore. Both of these water towers are now dead. A new water spear takes their place. One of these towers had markers, and it was this one. This one survived longer than this one. The new spear has markers as well. It's too bad due for these towers are now dead. It's a shame. So I had to go to Street View back in September 2011. New Street View from 5 months ago shows that both of them are dead. But there's actually a Street View of one of the old towers with the new water spear. And that one, the one with the bigger thing that goes into the ground, that's the one that was taken down first. These two, I think they're somewhere in Kansas. I don't remember what. I think it's Canton, Kansas. And these two, okay, yeah, these are in Pratt, Kansas. Might be Prattville. Yeah, I got it mixed up with the town these two towers are in. These two look identical. These two look a bit different. The tank on this one's more fatter. And I think the next tower collage that I'll make will be the 5 Cleveland monocles that have beacons.